Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on Learning Bigfoot. We are your hosts, TIPATV, Josh and Marianne. We have our co-host, Rooted Expeditions.
Hey,
Thank you
guys.
for joining us. And, of course, our amazing guest. We are so honored to have Jay Burch here with us.
Thank you.
I am so excited for this one because, yeah, I've watched some stories. This is going to be good. Hello, everybody in the chat. Bonnie, we've got Neva, Eric. I'm sorry I can't read very well. So I know I'm missing a couple of the people that's scrolling down. But anyway, welcome everybody in here. How's everybody?
Before we jump into how everybody is, I just want to point out for everybody in the chat and everybody who's listening, hold all your questions till the end of the show. We will have a spot at the end of the show where you can ask any of your questions. We'll be happy to answer them, or see if Jay would be happy to answer them for us. In the meantime, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you. Now, how is everybody?
How y'all doing? Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I did. You guys asked me to do this, and since I love this kid so much, I went ahead and went in early because I get off at 2:30, and then I have almost an hour drive. So I got home with 20 minutes to spare, and got everything set up. So yeah, it's important.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. I've always admired him. There's another kid that has a little thing too that. Anything he ever asked, I'll do it for him too. I like these kids. I think that they're worth putting the effort into and helping out whenever we can. So, because we got to pass this stuff on to somebody.
Yeah.
Him and I have different religious beliefs, but see how we're still friends? It doesn't matter to me. I still love this kid. So.
Well, we love this kid too.
And how you doing, kiddo?
I'm doing good, sport.
No, it's awesome. We're a good team together, and we really do appreciate you making the arrangements to be here, because I think what you have to offer is going to be phenomenal. Like we said before, we are learning Bigfoot. We are completely green. We have never hunted. We have never explored it. But we know we need to know a little more than we know now for when we head out to Florida in November to go do some filming with a Bigfoot exploration team.
Odyssey.
So yeah. Yes, Bigfoot with Bigfoot, obviously. So anyway, thank you for that.
Now, another thing too I want to throw out there for everybody in the chat is sometimes when we're fortunate enough to have the guests show up a little bit early, we talk to them in what I call a green room, where it's just us talking and getting ready for the show, getting to know each other. And I was hopped in mid-conversation and we were hearing about berries. Blueberries and almost blackberries and red berries and
huckleberries
and
cherries.
And that's the thing about what we're doing is we are learning Bigfoot, but we're not just focusing on Bigfoot. We're focusing on so much more than just Bigfoot. I mean, like when we first found out about apples and how people would give apples to Bigfoot or as our offering, we'd never heard of that.
No.
Never would have thought of that.
It's smart though.
And thinking that leads you down the rabbit hole. Okay, well, what kind of things does Bigfoot like to eat? What kind of things does Bigfoot not like to eat? Does he take certain plants and eat them for medicinal purposes? Because I have a feeling they're smart enough to understand, if my stomach's upset, I could eat this type of plant and it's going to help calm my stomach down. I could see them being that intellectual.
Yeah.
But there's also so much more use for berries than just pies. But we'll go into that into another day, another conversation. So again, thank you, Jay, for being on the show.
Let me recommend when you take apples out, pick them. Don't buy the stuff from the stores. Those have wax and all kinds of things on them. Pick them. Pick apples and pears. And I've taken up apples, pears, plums. There's a park down the street where everybody launched their boats, and there's a 100-year-old prune, plum, and red pear and Granny Smith apples. I always pick them and I'll take them up and I'll just leave them in a spot for them. But the ones from the stores, they're not. I wouldn't do that just simply because they're genetically altered, almost all of them. So it's better to do it. And don't ever take them anything with sugar. My wife occasionally will make a wild berry muffins, no sugar, and we'll take those up. I don't know if they take them or not. You know, I just take them up sometimes as while I'm busy doing something that maybe, you know, they'll see it as something I don't know anything about gifting or any of that kind of stuff. But I would take them cornbread with no sugar and things like that, so that you know, they get everything they need in the wild. They get their vegetables, they get their meat, and the only thing they don't really get is grains. And so that's why we take them, you know, that type of stuff. But we don't, like I said, I don't know if they're eating it. It's always gone when we go back. So.
Well, it's the effort. I mean, you're putting the effort out. They may be accepting it. It may be helping to build more of a relationship, even if it's a very careful relationship. That's
what I've been trying to do ever since what happened to me and my wife. But I did have somebody a couple of years ago offer me like 2 bushels of worm-infested hornet, you know, apples. And I was like, I can't take these up there to them. You know, I have an insult. I want to take good fruit up there, good food. Because we do know in this area we go to, there's at least 2 children up there.
Interesting.
Man. So do you think giving these apples or these fruits, or do you think it's more like a peace offering to kind of, you know, stay back? Or, I mean, is there a purpose to it? Or
I just hope they see me put it down so that they'll recognize me for, you know, from afar or whatever. I mean, what I'm trying to do is find answers for myself. I'm trying to you know, look, I have to take medication since to go to sleep since our encounter 5 years ago. In fact, we were just up at this place 2 weeks ago, and I took 2 pills a night, and I still would wake up and stay up for hours because it's just the fear's never going to go away, but it's not going to stop me either. Just, you know, I mean, I want to make some kind of, I don't want them eating at my plate at my camp or any of that kind of stuff. I just want to make sure that I have safe passage and my grandkids have safe passage while we're out there, and that I'm not going to be a threat to them.
Yeah, that's a very good point, that you're friendly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think that they view humans as a threat individually, or do you think they just view us as something?
I think they do. I think they do look at us as a threat. I think that they're more than we are. Honestly, I've always thought that they are. What I saw looked to me like a human woman, but covered in hair with a gianter face. It looked like a Caucasian woman to me that was just huge. And then the red one I saw just looked like a giant bodybuilder with I don't give it 800 pounds. It doesn't make sense. All them stories you hear at 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200 pounds. It's impossible. It's impossible. If they're built like us, or even if they're built like an ape, it's impossible. They'd be so overly obese they wouldn't be able to move. It's more, I think, exaggerated. You know, look, I'm telling you, that's the scariest thing that can ever happen to you. Literally. It wasn't little, have to draw the picture in the woods with my fingers looking at me. I was looking at this thing while it was looking at me. As far as the red one goes, it stood behind a tree, and its shoulder outline and the sides of its legs were completely visible, and it looked like a ripped bodybuilder with red hair on it, covered in the body. Then you could see the skin, but I never saw that one's face.
And about how tall were these?
I'd say the female was, I would say 6'11", maybe 6. I wouldn't even, maybe even less, because she was coming down a hill, and it was hard for me. I thought I was looking at a woman that was layered, wearing a hoodie. And you know how the women in the modern day now have their hair up in the ball all the time, and then they'll put a hoodie on. Well, it looks like one of those crown head type of, whatever they call those, where the head looks elongated like that. Well, that's what I thought it was just a lady that was multi-layered, a heavy-set woman. It wasn't. That's that's just crazy, man. I should have known better. I mean, I was already screwed up. They kept me up all night and doing shit to scare me half to death. And finally, when my wife got there the next day, as soon as she got out of the car, she could see something was wrong with me. And then there's prints everywhere, So, and I have a missing memory too, so I don't know what's going on there. But I don't believe in regression and hypnotism and all that. Hey, whatever happened, happened. So I didn't feel violated. So if I didn't feel violated, I'm good with missing.
That's not
funny, right?
Nothing hurt and wrong place.
So I know you've been roughly brushing across it, but can you take us back to the time when you had the experience? Maybe tell us a little bit more about where you were at, what you were doing. Were you hunting? Were you just camping?
I had been out of looking for Bigfoot for over 15 years. My wife and I were a part of a group way back when we were in our early 30s called the Pacific Coast Sasquatch Investigation Team. It was run by Will Jevening. It was a ragtag little, we just went out on the weekends and did all that stupid shit, walking over mountains and stuff, and you will never find a thing. But we got out of it. I don't make Bigfoot my whole world. My wife's mom got sick after her dad passed away. My wife's mom got sick, so she was her caregiver for 15 years, and family first.
Sure.
So we didn't go camping. We didn't do anything, and so after her mom had passed away, it still took about another year or so. And the kids actually took me out on a Father's Day camp trip, and it was wonderful. So wife and I started going, and we do the what are those camps called? It's where you don't have to pay or nothing. They're all over up in the national forest, big campsites.
Yeah, we have them here too. I mean, I guess you can do donations if you want, but you don't. It's absolutely free.
No, these are literally carved into the woods by people, and they're 14-day maximum stay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're wild. They're by rivers and streams and
wow,
all that type of stuff, and fishing and swimming, and so we were hitting these lower camps back in 2016, and we decided that at the end of the summer we wanted to see if there was anything higher. Well, boy, was there some nice ones, real nice ones. And so on the last weekend of August, first week of September, that holiday, Labor Day, I think it is, my company gave us a couple extra days off. So my wife and I, she still had to work 2 days, but I was like, well, let's go up and get a spot and I'll stay the night, which that was already uncharacteristic of us, because we taught our kids the same thing. You never camp alone, you never hunt alone, ever.
Right.
And never go into the forest without a firearm. And this is Pacific Northwest here. This is Mount St. Helens, and there's some animals here. And so anyway, I'd been up since 5 o'clock that morning. I had already ready to go and all that stuff. Got off work, and she took me up there. We set up a camp and everything, and headed back into Cougar and got some wood. Came back up, got a fire going, and then she left to go back home. And I sat there. It was probably 5 or 6 o'clock, somewhere in there, and I see my mouth's already getting dry. And I was just sitting here I just cracked open a beer and set it down, and because everybody knows me, knows that when I'm camping or barbecuing, I got some beers or some bourbon, and so I just was sitting there and enjoying the fire for a second. All of a sudden, I hear a foot stomp, and immediately put my head down because I was thinking, no way. I mean, Bigfoot was the furthest thing on my mind, and my wife and I had decided that we wanted to look for gold, do some gold panning, and so we thought, well, hey, maybe there'll be some tracks or something we could follow, or what, we're just giggling back and forth, but yeah, that stomp happened, and I put my head down, and I kept thinking it could be an elk, and I'm like, it ain't. So I pulled out my revolver and I held it up like this, just acting like, yeah, oh, there. And I put it on the table, pulled out my big Bowie knife and looked at it like I was looking at it. I wouldn't look over where the sounds came from. I set it down. And so I sat there for a couple minutes. And I was thinking, maybe they'll see, because I do firmly believe they know what weapons are. They must know what they are.
Right.
And, so I thought, well, maybe they'll see me as harmless now. And so everything was cool for a couple more minutes. And then there was another stomp. And I just got up like nothing happened. Meanwhile, my heart feels like it's going to bounce out of my chest. And I tried to whistle. And I was just thinking, maybe if I whistle, and it'll whistle back or whatever, but I was going, I couldn't, it just wasn't happening. So I grabbed a couple of chairs and headed to our tent. And I sat down there and I threw like 3 bundles of wood on the fire, and that thing was roaring. And I sat over there and I just kept looking at the ground, waiting and waiting. And then I thought, well, maybe everything's okay now. So I walked back over there, and I think I took a sip of that beer or something. And I heard 2 full steps, and I just immediately turned around and walked back to that tent, and I sat there. And I put the beer down because I thought, well, if I can get rescued here, because it was just me. I didn't have a car or nothing. We had 1 car at the time, and she had dropped me off up there. There was no way out. So I just thought, if somebody comes driving in here, I don't want to sound like a blubbering drunk or something like that. So I just didn't take another sip of that beer. And I sat there until it got just under dark. The creepy thing was there's a huckleberry field patch right next to the camp, and I caught a glimpse in my eye of something. I looked real quick, and it's a black what do they call those? Cottontail. I've never seen a black cottontail before. Bunny rabbit, and it just creeped me out, So I made a little video on my phone that there's something over here stomping and all that. Thing was, I was wearing bright red hoodie. Right next to there's a creek, and then there's a berry field right next to me. That all the things that are, at least in the 911 books, or 411 books, if you believe me, shouldn't be. That's part of what's on record of what most people that are missing, or that is they're wearing bright red, they're near a creek, a watershed of some kind, and there's
by himself.
Yeah, and there's berries, and there's usually also boulder fields. So I just I couldn't. I was thinking, oh man, but I waited till it almost got dark, and I turned the lantern on. That I got in the tent, and I didn't get under the covers or nothing. I was already soaking wet from the rain, but I refused to. I was like, I had the knife in one hand and I had the gun in the other, and I was just waiting if I had to cut my way out or whatever, because it just was a little gun. And it was, now I've got firepower, but back then it was just a little 32 Magnum Bulldog is what it's called. And somebody gave me some crap on that on that Carrie Arnold show in their chat about whoever heard of a 32 Magnum and all this other stuff. And I was like, well, Heritage Arms, I had it. And
that's what you had.
Yeah, I'm just like, just because you've never heard of it doesn't mean. And
you even showed. I think you showed it.
Yeah,
I can't remember if it was on my show. I don't remember if it was on my show. I can't remember, but I remember seeing it.
Yeah, I held it up, and because there's a difference between that and the 44 Magnum I have now. So, but yeah, I was just that thing. I just thought, this is the stupidest thing. It wasn't even a pacifier for me at all. I was just like, this is gonna do nothing. And so I was scared to death in there, but they started making a humming noise. And it like a fellow just sent me some sound bites from Bumping Lake, and it was similar. It's almost like the that over there in Australia, that thing that I don't remember what they called that.
The didgeridoos? Yeah,
didgeridoo is what it sounded like, and it stayed that way. It never stopped. It just never stopped. And I was right there in that tent, and it would the rain would pour, and and pour, and then it was stopping and still like that, and it just, I was freaking out, and so I did another video. I was crying and everything, and I was telling my wife how much I loved her, and I wanted her to tell the kids, how much I love them, the grandkids, and all that. Wish I could have done all these great things, and just I didn't promise any God anything. I just wanted her to know that I loved her. And but then when I made it in the morning, I erased it. I was really upset during the night because I thought I was going to die.
Sure. Sure.
Then one of the weirdest things about this is that right about 2:30 in the morning, being a diabetic, I had to pee really bad. So I figured, well, I'll lay on my side and I'll just barely unzip this, and instead it was a brand new tent. So I had to come down and around. So I'm going as slow as possible. And I look out there and an orb, it looked like, first I was like, what is that doing? It's a bubble. It looked like a bubble. Like when a kid puts one of those circle things in a big old thing of soap and it goes like that. And you get one. And I was like, what is that? And it was acting like a bubble. But then the more I looked at it, I saw it had red tint surrounding it. I was just like, I knew it was alive, whatever it was. I don't associate it with the Bigfoot at all. I just think I was there for two anomalous things one night. I guess I just don't put them both together. I literally closed the tent and I screamed that I can't handle both of you mother effers at the same. Because I'd always heard about the orbs, but I always thought people were full of shit. They're out there. It's weird. It was really weird. You could see right through that thing too. I've never seen one before or since. I didn't feel threatened by it in any way, shape, or form at all. In fact, I felt a sense of calm. And it made me so mad though to see that. I'm like, I just can't believe this.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's nobody here. And I had a phone and all that. So I got to tell people when you say, why don't you take a picture and all that? Well, the last thing on my mind, first thing on my mind is to keep myself safe. Last thing is taking pictures.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's one thing I think a lot of people miss the boat on is because, especially in your scenario where you have no transportation, you're completely by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's already becoming nightfall, or it is nightfall.
It is.
You're hearing what is obviously heavy sounds from stomping and stuff like that. You have your gun, you have your knife, you have to use the bathroom, and the last thing you'd expect to see when you peeked out of that tent was an orb.
Right. Especially when that big.
And I don't know anybody who could be in that same situation as you who would say, oh, I better grab my phone and take a picture. Your first thought is trying to process what you're looking at and trying to apply logic to what you're seeing in front of you. Second thing is you still know that there's another danger out there and it could be right up on you by this point.
Yep.
And so you're still being alert about that. And having the wherewithal to say, "No, I'm going to grab my phone and take a picture." That's just not realistic, in my opinion. That's just not realistic. Put anybody in that exact situation you are, I can guarantee very, very few, if any, people would even think about trying to take a picture. And if they do, they'd probably have their flash on anyway.
Yep.
So, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, that's okay. I ended up not going pee, so here I felt like I was going to explode. I was freezing to death because I refused to get under the covers. There was no way I was going to get under the covers. I was sweating and I was freezing. I'd been soaked by rain, but then with fear and then being tense, I felt like I used to when I used to work out, as a younger man. A lot of pain. It was stress, but finally at like 5:45 in the morning, somewhere in there, it let out this incredible scream, and everything went dead silent after that. And you could hear that. If there would have been more people up there, that would have been awesome. But you could have probably heard that for miles. That scream. I won't do it. I'm sorry, because I have the forest right here. It's right here, and I made a mistake. I'll tell you the rest of this and why I won't do this call. But everything got calm, and I just thought, I looked at my phone, which the battery was getting close to dying anyway. But I thought, well, it's 5:45. God knows, it surely can't be another hour till daylight. But it was. If I waited till 7:30 in the morning, and because I couldn't hold it any longer, and I just said, F it. I unzipped the tent, got out, and I just yelled, I don't care. And I took a nice long pee, and I looked down at that beer that had been soaked by the rain all night, and I didn't give a shit, man. I picked that up and I gulped it. Well, I just threw it down, and I was like, it tasted like water, but I didn't care. And then I walked over and I said, I'm gonna make coffee, and I'm gonna bathe. So if you don't like it, I'm sorry. And I just lit a fire, and I burnt my clothes. They were so disgusting from the sweating and the being wet. No, I felt awful. So I just burned them, and I took them. I had a little teapot about like that, and I heated that up, and I took a bath with that little bit of water right there, butt naked in front of God and everybody. We're out in the forest, so I just told them, I'm sorry, but I got to do this. So it was. You could hear them over there moving and everything, and I just said, what? They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. I got no place to go. So that's kind of, with the lack of sleep, I began to be angry. And I guess with anger, sometimes you get a little bit more bravery with you too. So, I just was kind of being a little bit shitty, I guess. Pardon my language, but it wasn't real bravery. Trust me, I'm not a brave man when it comes to these things. But it was later after that I'd been standing there enjoying my coffee, and I was about out of wood. I actually went up there with 9 or 10 bundles of wood, and I'd thrown 7 bundles on all together before I went to the tent, and I had a raging fire over there. They're not afraid of fire. That's another thing. If you're learning Bigfoot, they're not afraid of fire. And that's when I looked up, and I just caught the red one just standing behind that tree, and I immediately glanced back down the fire, and I was in a panic because I didn't know what they wanted from me, and so I couldn't look back up there. I just kept doing the side glance thing, and I was so I just decided I was going to walk out of the camp and look for wood approaching the main road, and because he stayed there for like 15 minutes, I would make more coffee and all that. And I pretended like I didn't know anything was going on. I'm sure they knew that I knew they were there, but I mean, I did everything possible with the military training and things like that. I tried to control my heartbeat and all those kinds of things, and it was horrible. I hadn't slept since the previous day, and when I came back from getting the wood, though, he was gone. And my wife finally got up there at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And she got out of the car and immediately spotted a 14-inch track that was just a couple feet from our tent, but it was older, like maybe a week old or so.
Wow.
We walked over to the fire, and I was telling her everything to happen. She's just like, no way. And then we walk over to the creek, and I was like, I didn't know there's a creek here. And she's like, yes, you do. That's why we picked this spot, because that was a spot you wanted our grandson to play in. I have no knowledge of that at all. I have zero knowledge. So there's a tree down on the other side. I heard them fraying this tree and bringing it down, and then they twisted it and brought it back, and then pulled a smaller one out of the ground and laid it across there. It looked to me like an A. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. I asked a guy, I went to a stupid woo conference, and the guy tells me, oh, that means welcome. And I'm just like, oh.
Okay, that's all. You're actually you're in. Yeah, that says it all right there.
But I asked my wife, I was like, was that there yesterday? She goes, no, it wasn't. And so we walked over there, and there was prints galore. Like we started acting. I said, I think someone's just messing with us, because This is all right out of television. All these prints were beautiful. They were perfect. They were crystal clear. They were deep, with one being well over 20 inches.
Wow.
And oh, it was that had to be the red one. It had to be.
Wasn't Shaq.
Yeah, but I just like there was like 14-inch tracks, 16-inch tracks. There were 12-inch tracks and 9-inch tracks, and
A family.
Yeah,
so
sounds like.
I was looking down low to the ground, and I was looking off to the left, and I said, well, it looks like there might be a bench back there. And then I saw a head come down and look, and then a head come down again. I told my wife, I said, oh, there must be somebody camping over there. So we turned around and left. There wasn't. That was their juvenile back there hiding from us. And yeah, it was. I didn't know that yet, but so she. I had to tell her while we're sitting there, she's just all in awe. I'm like, I'm ready to pack shit up and go home. But she just got there. She's ready. She's excited, man. So as I'm talking to her about this, and this is a couple hours later, and this raven flies around our camp, and each time he'd do this circle, and then just to the left of our camp, he'd stop and he'd hover, and then he'd do a circle, and he'd stop and he'd hover. On the third one, he hovered and he's going, down. He's looking at something. All of a sudden, you hear this, ooh, ooh, just like that to the raven. And I told my wife, I said, it's right there. It was right in the bush. Couldn't see it, but I was just like, it had to be their juvenile. And that aggressive male that was back there, he'd been, you could hear him cracking sticks and stuff back there. So I got up. We had the fire going and all that. We decided to leave whatever it is alone. It's only like 25 yards or 25 feet from us down this camp, down from our camp. And so where the creek is, I walked up, and I had to pee so bad. I tell you, I was having a bad weekend for peeing. And when you get nervous and you're diabetic, man, it just flows and flows. And so here I am in this bright red hoodie and this little tiny tree, and then that's when the woman come walking down the trail, and I was like, oh crap! I was like, because I looked down, I looked up at her, and she looked down, and looked up at me, and I told my wife, I said, man, there's a woman coming down right at me. God dang it! I said, she knows I'm peeing, and I said, I can't stop though. But her coat had me. I was like, she's like, well, what is she doing? I said, well, she's just walking down the path on that other side. But I said, her coat, it's pink and it's grayish brownish. I mean, these are flaring colors like sequins, purple, that kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't understand what's going on here. It kept me from looking at her face, was looking at what I thought was a coat. This big woman, layered woman walking. And just as my wife got up to walk over to look, the Sasquatch took an abrupt, like, left face, boom, just without right into the forest, boom, just like that. It was just unbelievable. And what that was reflecting on her was lichen. When lichen gets wet, it reflects with light, pink and purple and all kinds of things. So the archaeologist at the time up there on Mount St. Helens told me that he's seen them with it. They must sleep in it or something, use it for bedding, and he firmly believed that they were using it for camouflage too, which makes sense to me.
Makes sense.
But
yes, it does. Yeah.
But when we filmed wet lichen, that's exactly what we got off it, was reflection of pink and purple. So that I knew I wasn't crazy, man. That just solved it all for me that following month when we went up there. Well, after we got charged, but and so here's the reason why. Now, okay, before we get there, before the weekend ended, my grandson came up and his dad and I took, because my son is 6'4.5", and we call him, his name is Bigfoot Josh, and Sasquatch boy, and that kind of stuff. And so him and I walked over there, and first of all, he was really upset with his mother for leaving me up there. She told me when she got up there, she's like, Josh called and wanted to talk to you about, before we go up and all that, because they were already scheduled to come up and see us. And she told him that she's like, Dad's already up there. He's camping. She's like, are you going to go get him? My son says, you're going to go get him? She's like, no. But yeah, he got up there. He kind of scolded me a little bit. He says, that's the rule. And you're the one that made the rule, Dad. And I was like, I know. But looking at him at 6'4.5", and then I looked down at that giant print, made him look so small.
Wow.
He was looking. He didn't have a word to say. He was just looking at these prints, and he'd look at me and shake his head. And he had Joshua has a 45, so I felt a lot more comfortable with. And he just had that thing drawn and ready. And we looked around. There was a lot of destruction back there. Something has really pissed those off that year. Those things. I don't know what it was, but there was a lot of destruction back there. There's trees that were like maybe 4.5 feet tall that were they were evergreens with the trunks about like so big around, but they were broken in half. They were only like 4.5 feet tall, but something broke them in half. How the hell do you do that? I mean, broke them literally without it's busted at 10 feet away. Bizarre.
Out of curiosity, were they still in the ground? The trees that were busted?
Yeah, the bottom part of the tree. Yeah, that one tree. The tree that they frayed that they made that what I thought was an A of some kind. Who knows? I may have read it wrong, or maybe it was just random. But that tree was taken. Say this is the ground, and here's the tree. That tree was pushed completely, and so it was all frayed at the bottom. That tree was literally snapped at the base of the ground.
Oh, wow.
And then it was twisted halfway up, broken and twisted. And I have film of that and everything. At the time, crazy. I wasn't a very good. I take my time on stuff now. I don't journal or anything like that, as far as because I'm not looking for them anymore. As far as trying to research them, I know they're there. I mean, once you've seen them, then you know they're there. And I'd encountered them years previous, coon hunting and stuff. And so I have to say that I don't believe that they hate dogs. I hear these stories all the time, but 4 of our coon dogs were standing side by side with one of those things. And one of them even had got up on, paws up on it like they would a human being. That's what leads me to believe that they may be some kind of human, is because hound dogs don't bark at human beings. They bark at animals. They weren't barking at this thing. And it literally let the dogs, get up, act like they would with a human. Unfortunately for that, that was in the Yakult burn, and that was during a bad winter where we had just gotten a bunch of rain on top of this snow, which caused an extreme fog. That's why we had glow sticks on the dogs. And all we got was this thing's eyes from about 20 yards. And we watched it for 20 minutes easily. My buddy was freaking out. He never, he kept asking me, is that a Sasquatch? Because I talked about Sasquatch all the time. And he never believed me. This is back in 1998, I think, or 97, somewhere in there. And but those dogs, they weren't worried or nothing. That all that thing did was kept its eyes on us. And he's like, what is that? And I was like, well, it's got to be an elk or something. He goes, it can't be an elk. Number one, it's blinking. Number two, the eyes are too close together. And number three, if it's an elk, it'd stomp them dogs to death. I was like, it was obvious. I knew what it was, but it just, I don't know. But that was it just turned around and walked away. And we went on our business hunting that night. And, for raccoons, and that's one that I wish that it would have been a clearer night or something, because literally that fog was so thick that we had to have glow sticks on the dogs, and all we got was that creature's eyes, and they were like a burnt orange, as far as the reflection in the light. Kind of reminded me of when I was a kid. The snapshot, the bulbs on top of the little cameras would make your eyes red. That's what it looked like to me. But to the other story, during that weekend, that aggressive dark male couldn't keep his eyes off my wife for some reason. He was constantly peekabooing her. All she could get was his ear as he put his head away. You know, it's when you're looking at somebody and then they turn around and you try to act like you know. That's what he was doing. In this,
I wasn't looking.
Yeah, he was doing this, and all she could see was his ear and stuff. So, but my grandson was up there, and that's all I thought I was going to have a heart attack. He kept playing near that creek, and I kept steering him the other way. And you know, they had those gray jays. They're in the jay family. We call them camp robbers. I was actually feeding those and yelling over across the creek, you know, early in the morning. See, I'm a good guy, you know, type of thing. But my grandson was having a ball with those camp robbers. They'll eat right out of your hand. So, but it was a month later, my wife and I went back up. We decided that we'd bring them some muffins and all that. We'd explore it a little bit. And so we went up there. We brought some chicken for dinner.
Sorry about that noise. It's thunder.
Yeah.
We have thunder striking
Sorry.
above our heads.
So I
apologize.
We're eating this chicken and everything. We decided we're going to walk across the creek and take those muffins back there. So we get back about 100 yards or so and we'd never gone so far. We gone to the right, and we started hearing this. See if you guys can hear this tapping like this. And then from over to the right, you hear this. And then behind us, we hear this. And I'm like, that's code. That's code. I was like, oh my God, that's code. I was like, and then all of a sudden we smelled like garbage. It was this garbagey, like kitchen garbage smell. And my wife looks at me. She goes, let's just go back to the camp. I was like, all right. And the whole time I'm walking back to the camp, boy, I've got that pistol out. And I got it behind my back, so we get back to the camp, and now I'm actually having. I think I have like a third beer. We're just going to stay long enough to enjoy the early evening and all that. So I started doing this call that they did to me a month earlier at the end of the night, and I did it. I got a little more aggressive, a little bit loud. And then I stopped. I'm drinking some of my beer, and I hear this crash, just one crash. And I turn around. And I said to my wife, "Did you hear?" And just as soon as I got that out, it was on a full-blown crashing through the woods, coming straight after us. And my wife, you know, we ran to the car. She was wrapped in a blanket and her caught up in that stupid chair. And she had her hand. She had her keys in a pocket in this chair, and she dropped the keys. I didn't know she dropped the keys at the time, but this expression on her face and this little whelp that she let out. It was heartbreaking to me because I was on the other side of the car and I thought he was going to get her. I thought that's why she had whelped like that. And she got in the car and everything, and she assured me that that I didn't. I waited outside the car till she was completely safe in there, because I don't remember that at all. I just remember that happening and then us rushing to the car. But apparently I had the gun drawn and ready to protect her. So I feel good about that, because I actually been challenged on that by somebody, a troll. Why would you make your wife get out and get the keys and all that? And I just wait a minute, I'm no coward. And she let it be known that the keys were dropped right outside the car. But it's kind of funny when you look back now. We get in there and I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and we're just staring at each other. And I was like, "You gonna start this son of a bitch?" And she's like, "I dropped the keys." I was like,
Oh man.
She just reached out and grabbed it a little bit.
Yeah.
It just, oh my God. So she's like, we had brand new chairs. She's like, "Should we get the chairs or just leave?" I was like, I just bought my chair on the way up there. So I thought, I'm looking around, I don't see anything. I was like, let's just get them real quick. I thought we were going to throw them in the back seat, right? So she backs up. As she's backing up is when I see him. I didn't get his face. Just I could see it somewhere around 8 feet mark
Wow.
of there's white on the tree from the bark, and it just goes. I see the white, and it goes black, white like that. And I was like, oh, and it looked like it was so graceful. It was like it was floating, but yet it was sounding like an elephant running through there. But the gracefulness of going through there was unbelievable to me. But she backs up, and we get out, and all of a sudden I see the trunk open. I'm like, what? So we're gonna shove these in the so and then I can't get mine. Mine's brand new. I don't know how to fold it. I'm trying everything under the sun. We're both shaking like crazy. I literally have my hand on the car, and I reach as far as I can. You can see I had this little thing that's like a GoPro, but it wasn't. It was some kind of cheap ripoff cylinder type of thing. But I had my finger pulling on my chair. I dropped my water and everything. I didn't care. She had to fold my chair up because there's a technique with those Coleman chairs, and I was like, Jesus. So we get that stuff in there, and the end of that trail is or of that road to get to the main road, the 81. It's about 30 yards, and well, we got to the end of that road between the two boulders, and her purse was wrapped between her legs. I mean, we're coughing. We're having a what do they call that?
Panic attack.
Yeah, panic attacks, anxiety attack. But we're laughing too. We're laughing uncontrollably. But we're not laughing because anything is funny. It's just that panic thing. And oh my God, we pulled out of there, and all I could do was look back. I wonder if he's going to step out. We left the fire going and everything. Sorry, Smokey. I'm not on film. I see her with a half a bottle of water dumping on this big fire. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
That's but it didn't come back out or nothing like that. But that we drove home, and we didn't really talk much to each other. Other than we just kept going, I can't believe this. And it affected us both. I was a person in charge, is what they call it, where I work at that time, robot welding. And so, it was hard for me. Who do you go to? There's nobody to go to. And so, my poor wife, her hair was falling out. I couldn't sleep. If I don't take the meds, I'm not going to be sleeping. That's been 5 years now, and this coming September. And I finally met like Mitchell Townsend. You learn a lot as you go through through this. Who are the people you can trust? Who are the good people? Who are the and I've learned I'm like a full sink. When I started, I believed every single thing that was told to me. Mm-hmm. And to the point where the disappointment had gotten so bad that it just drained to the point where I don't give a shit anymore. I don't care. I don't research. I quit my show I was on. I'm kind of fed up right now with what's going on. All that stupid show that's out right now, that is phony. It's been proven to be phony, and yet they still got it going. I don't understand them. People will fight you about, no, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, it's the professional wrestling of Bigfoot. It's that show that's, and it's unfortunate that this is what's wrong with the Bigfoot world.
Yeah, right.
Just because that particular man throws the biggest conference, he's also friends with the biggest hoaxers. And he I'm done with that kind of stuff. Like I said, there's a handful of researchers, to me, real researchers, that I think are the real deal. And Shelley Covington, Montana, leads the pack. Justin Cherpinski, also in Canada. Paul Graves here in Washington State. Those three guys, I believe, 100% are going to really be involved. Cliff Brockman. Cliff doesn't just, before that show came on, Cliff did that. Cliff has a museum now over there in Oregon, Bigfoot Museum, but he still goes out all the time. He goes out all the time. He's also one of those guys, I think, that'll be involved in the real, the deal. I don't know if you've heard of the Olympic Project, but those guys up there were brought in by the Forest Service because they found nests up there that couldn't be identified, real like gorilla style nests woven into the ground. And so that project's been going on for a while. Those guys are all worth talking to. I am not a researcher. They came to me. I act normal. When I go camping, I'm out there and I'm having fun. I go to places where I'm almost positive they're at, and I hope for interaction. But not the interaction we had. I have a lot more respect now, too, than I did back then. I think that if I'd had a lot more respect, I must have been doing something wrong. I don't know what it is, but I must have been doing something wrong. But I know that I go out there with a good heart when I do go. And I always say in my mind, I don't believe the mind speak and all that other stuff. I got no time for that. If we can't prove there's one, you can't tell me there's 7 or 8 varieties of them. You can't tell me that they're braiding horses here. If you ain't got a picture of a Sasquatch braiding a horse's hair, then shut up. And if you're telling me there's researchers in the South, 2 very famous guys that say, hey, they molest farm animals. We get these reports all the time. You're going to stand there and watch a Bigfoot screw one of your animals and you're not going to... Seriously? I mean, come on, let's be responsible. You got that Russian right now, he's claiming to, at this latest conference in Nebraska, he's talking to a Yeti on the phone in Russia. And he's Dr. Agor Barshnov, I think his name is, if I spelled it right, or if I say it right correctly. But and he just was at he's got a documentary coming out, filmed in Russia, about his life raising a Yeti. And then you got the Fox story. You do this Sasquatch for 50 years and his whole family, you never took a photo? Never thought about that, maybe?
No family photo? No, nothing.
Right?
I'm just so sick of it. And I'm only a part of one group, and that is the critical thinking, the Bigfoot critical thinking group. That's it. All that other stuff, all this posted pictures of fuzzy stuff in the forest, it's 2021, folks. When you're drawing circles and arrows and lines to prove a face, I can walk outside right now and just randomly snap photos, and we can do this all day long. We can make these faces. True. We can do all these things.
That's true.
So, I hope that you guys will come here to the Pacific Northwest, to Washington State, after you're done. That I am currently working with another person who's working at a different angle of doing a documentary. I'm just going to be a part of it as all, but he's helping me write a book too. And the book is just, it's a fantasy about in the 1960s of a young couple that had, found a baby one and raised it as their own in a small community. It's all just a story. There's no based on anything. It's just something that came to my head while I was camping one time in a certain area. Actually, it's an area where a young lady disappeared. A friend of my niece's from Australia that she walked into the forest and she's never been seen again in this particular campsite. So, wow! I walked in there.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, if we ever make it out your way and the weather's right, it would be fun just to go on a camping trip with you in one of these areas that you know.
Well, I'll cook for you. That's we do all my cooking. I do is outside. I do it on the campfire. I do it on my barbecues. All that stuff.
I'll probably cheat that one day and have some meat.
Oh, y'all gotta, okay. So check out his channel because he does. His channel's called Bigfoot Barbecue and Camp Cookbook. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, And I gotta tell you, there's some really good stuff on there. There's some,
Make your
yeah.
mouth water.
I just watched your infused pork where it was all glazed over. Oh my gosh.
That was really good. Yeah.
Oh, that looks really, really good.
I just did that last week. I did I didn't film it, but I did a chicken hindquarters. I gave them a rub, and then I made a spritz of King's apple pear juice and 2 shots of bourbon, Wild Turkey 101, and some sriracha sauce. About 4 good hard squirts of sriracha sauce and a little bit of Worcestershire. Shook that up real nice, and that's what. While that chicken was smoking, I went ahead and spritzed that up. Every time it got that good crackly look, you spritz that up, and all that juice is getting absorbed into that. So then at the end, I topped it off with, took the wood out of there and just barbecued it with. So you had the 3 layers of deliciousness before you hit the meat.
Oh,
Nice.
that sounds so good. Oh my
You're
gosh.
talking to a cook over here. So,
Yeah. He's got some good stuff on his channel. If you want some tips, absolutely check that out.
But I absolutely mean it. I mean, if we can find time to make it out your way, I'd love to go to one of these
Yeah.
spots with you.
100%.
That's a good, interesting question by Bonnie.
Oh, where did we miss?
We're in Canada.
There we go.
Cliff Brackman is in Washington, or is in Oregon.
Oregon.
I do believe that the Sasquatch is responsible for some of it, not the 411.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that a bear walks up, unzips a tent, picks a baby up, and walks out of camp holding a baby. I think when these stories like that one I'm just telling you, that's in that book. That's from like the 20s or something. So people, I don't think really knew anything about. We knew about wild men and things like that. These things have only been called Bigfoot, Sasquatch for not very long. But that's no bear walks up and unzips a tent, takes a baby, brought it back, by the way. So it's just the little girl that was out in the forest, and she talks about the dog, the wolf man, the wolf guy.
Yes.
That fed her, gave her berries.
That's
but
right.
ate her cat. Yeah. And look, we're grown up watching Yogi the Bear, all these cartoons that kids are watching. They're all walking upright. That's why I think kids would confuse all the bears, all the cartoons, including the ones on HBO. You know, the Remington Bears or whatever they are. They all walk upright. So I think that's what would make a little child say it was a bear. That little boy that was here in North Carolina, I believe it was 2 years ago, in the freezing weather, was gone 3 days, lost for 3 days. He said that a bear kept him warm. How the hell is that?
Yeah.
The bear kept him warm. I would love to have been able to interview that little boy and, you know, talk to him about it. Bears are not. They're not gonna. Hey, look, there's a human. Let's keep him warm.
Teddy bear.
Yeah.
Let's take them out for a few days and bring them back.
Most bears would see a quick snack.
Yeah.
If they're hungry enough.
Yep.
I don't believe that 411 is 100% Bigfoot. I think there's a lot of things out there in our forest that we still don't know. Like as soon as I saw that orb, I knew that okay, well, there's something else out here then, because and look, if I've seen a Bigfoot, then it's hard for me to. There's only a few things I'll call bullshit on, but you know, if I saw that, there's no telling what's out there. There's just no telling.
Yeah, and one of the things that is really motivating us on top of what's coming up in November to find out more about this is we're hearing more and more of people's firsthand experience. We're learning more and more of the impact it makes on the individuals when they actually come face to face with one. And these are stories that, from where I've grown up, I haven't heard about them. I haven't heard about, the traumatic events that have affected people in such a deep way, because for some reason, one reason or another, it's just not on anybody's radar. And I didn't start hearing about it until I started watching Hidden Existence and I started listening to guests on Let's Talk Exploring. Prior to that, I honestly didn't know it existed. I honestly didn't know these situations were as, for lack of a better term, I didn't know these situations were as real as they are, because I just never heard about them. If you don't hear about it, lack of knowledge, you hear, oh, yeah, I found a Bigfoot. Here's the print. Look, I'm going to spread this picture over. Hey, I got a picture of Bigfoot, and it's this blurry image with a bunch of blurry trees. And, that's about the extent I ever heard of, Bigfoot. It was just all these really poor photos firsthand.
Kind of the hoaxy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is that's my reputation right now. And if you don't like it, too bad. But I just lost another friend, a Facebook friend, the other day, because I was like, you're posting these pictures of one of the biggest hoaxers in this whole thing. And then she told me, you better be careful who you're calling a hoaxer. I'm like, well, look, the program's already been proven to be fake. So you tell me what is a hoaxer then, and I don't care. You're my Facebook friend. I don't know you.
See, and that's the thing. Once a channel or a production does that one fake video, it loses all credibility on anything that comes out after that. It's like crying wolf. I mean, you do it, and then it's like, okay, is this real? Because this last one was fake. It was proven to be fake. Why would this one not be fake? Maybe.
Why is there season 2? You're asking yourself, why is there season 2? Now they're probably going to set up for season 3.
They do it for the numbers, though. I mean, they do it for the numbers. They do it for the news, and they do it for.
Unfortunately, people suck it up. Look, you want your wish to come true and get terrified like what happened to me, or you want to listen to those stupid stories where this one idiot claims he goes to Canada every 7 years because he's invited to their the Bigfoots invite him through his mind to their little jamboree that they have out in the middle of the forest somewhere, where they decide who can get married between the two of them, who can have sex this year to have a baby, and he gets to witness the births of the babies, and in fact at one point he had witnessed the birth of royal Sasquatch twins, and all the ladies in that woo audience were going, oh. I was like, oh my god, my wife walked out.
Okay, well, with all that being said, what's your thoughts on this show? That I just watched this show, or this movie, documentary really. I think it's called Discovering Bigfoot, with Todd Standing. Have you seen that? What do you think about that?
You surely know how I feel about that. Oh my god, Blinky. Oh god.
Well, I mean, we're all learning here. I mean, it looked pretty interesting. So,
well, it's funny, as the man will tell you 150 times, that he is a professional videographer. And then it doesn't take. This stuff has been shown to people that have nothing to do with Bigfoot. People in the camera world at one point were saying, "Hey, what kind of camera would take a picture like this?" They go, well, number one, this one here was done in a studio. And they would tell you why it was and all that. Especially the Blinky one, where that's literally, you notice how so well just that one eye is there. And then you look at, this is stuff where they're really focused in on the tree part of it and all that. Then you got, I have a friend I worked with years ago that he is a FX specialist. And he chose not to go into that field because there's too many people in it. So he would, for a little bit of money each year, he would do whatever he wanted for Halloween. He'd make you up however you wanted to do it. So I took that first one into him. And I just told him, hey, could you do this for me? He goes, yeah, whoever did this did it bad. That's the first one he showed, where it's just black eyes with, furry face. And he showed me, he goes, look right down here on the lip there. He didn't seal that properly. So that's caused this and this. And he started pointing out all these things. I said, I told him, this guy's trying to claim this is a real Bigfoot. Now, all he could do was laugh. He's like, no,
Oh wow.
it's piss poor makeup right there. And then, look, I'm a soldier, okay? So that last one he did at the very end of that show was a man with grease paint on. It's just exactly like any soldiers ever put grease paint on. That's what that was. I don't know how anybody seriously could fall for that kind of stuff. And if you do, God bless you. You know.
Huh.
He also sold out to the Al Jazeera television. He let the Muslims have his stuff, and he followed them all around while they said, "This creature's in the Quran," and you this and that, and he's like, "Oh yeah." So they must have paid him something. Boy, that was embarrassing to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
Thank you for letting us know.
That.
There was a lot of parts in it that was convincing, like when he
Yeah.
showed that the hand was taking the apples.
The tree getting thrown at him, you know, and
I can do that. You want me to do that? You know why I won't do that? Because
there
I'm
was
not going to
one
be
part-
put in that class. I'm not going to be put in showing you how you can hoax things, because I don't want any part of it. And
yeah.
anybody that, look, if I know a lot of researchers in Canada, honest, hardworking, very good researchers, and it kills them to see this guy doing this. And you notice he hasn't got anything else. He hasn't. What happened? Well, your $900,000 ran out, so that's what happened. It's just awful. This is what's wrong with Bigfoot, and I'll keep saying that, and that's where I get all my enemies and all that, which I don't care. Is that it has to be real, and we have to work together to do this for real, and not it ain't about a show. It ain't about, I quit my own show, and I love Daniela to death, but I started getting fans. I don't want fans. I want answers. I want, God bless everybody that thinks I'm some kind of nice, that I'm somebody. I'm not. I just had I had an experience, and I'm trying to get answers for it, but I'm trying to clear the way with all the crap that's out there. You got another guy that claims he has a Sasquatch that talks to him all the time, throws marbles and all that stuff, and it just, he's got 1 billion followers, and people eat that up, man. I don't get it. I have heard the chatter type of stuff out there in the forest. It sounds, I work with deaf people too at my company. They hire deaf people. And so when the deaf people are, while they're talking to you, they go, you hear that out there in the forest. You hear that. So that's, they're communicating somehow. They're talking somehow. But that's what it sounds like to me, is when my buddies at work are talking.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. That's interesting, because I hadn't heard that one before.
It really is interesting. Now, we are just a little bit past the hour. I do have one more question before we close out the show, and it's from Sandra Pink.
Yes.
When putting apples out for Bigfoot, is it better in a jar or just put them on the ground?
I'd never heard of that.
Don't ever put anything in a jar. That's when you try to trick them, they just won't do it. They won't do it. If you have to be honest and just put the apples on a stump someplace or something where you don't give something so similar to us, dirt, just give them like you'd give an apple to one of your kids, put it up on a stump or something, but don't do the jar thing. You're going to
What is the jar thing?
They're trying to get fingerprints, and they're trying to get hair, and they're trying to get DNA. If you try to fool these things, you're never going to get them to come around you. Just be natural, and you may have an experience. And I think that they're not all like the ones I encountered, because we've encountered other ones. We know they're there. They let you know they're there. But I haven't encountered the nastier ones like I did that year. That's changed my life forever. When fantasy becomes reality right in front of your eyes, I always say, when a Christian tells me I'm full of shit, I'm like, well, I want you to imagine if Jesus Christ appeared to you right in front of your face to give you a hug, you'd pass out, because you would go, no, I can't have it. It just, it'd be the same thing. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or anything. I'm just trying to say that when something happens to you and you believe already, I always knew they were there because I'd had interactions. I just never seen them like that. When I was 10 years old, I saw one just the back of its head. I thought it was a man. We lived up on a mountain. There was only one way in and one way out. And literally miles up a mountain. One dirt road in and one dirt road out. And this was down at our well. All I saw was the back of its head. It scared me so bad. I thought, what is a man doing on our property down at the well? And it disappeared.
Wow.
Well, a lot of what you're saying, we actually have a background with those experiences, but not necessarily with Bigfoot. It's with ghost hunting, because we have years and years of experience going ghost hunting. And I used to call it paranormal investigations, but that is such a broad range of titles. It was ghost hunting. We would experience ghosts. We would experience things firsthand ourselves, but we know that if we try to explain it to anybody, they're just going to tell us we're full of BS, or we imagined it, or it was this or that. But we knew what we experienced because we were there. We saw it with our own eyes, and we tried everything we could to apply any other type of logic to it.
When you've been touched by an entity, when I was 14, I was completely lifted off my bed. All in a matter of a couple of seconds, I was lifted up about 4 feet and dropped. Never happened before, never happened since.
Mm-hmm.
I slept with the light on for well over a year. I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But then as an adult, there was a house my wife and I lived in where the couple had bought it in the 20s, and they'd both lived their lives there, died there. And we were always getting gently touched. My wife and I constantly getting gently touched. And I just accept those kinds of things. I don't consider anything. I know the difference between good and evil. I have been woken up by blackness, in my life. And I'm so mean. I just say, you get the F out of here. I ain't got time for you. Because I think we all are above anything on this planet as far as spirituality goes. Nothing scares me. I don't like to bring it up. I don't like to bring things in, but I'll stand my ground with any entity. I'm just not afraid to do that. I have I am what they call an empath anyway. I have all the sages. I've had to bless so many things for people throughout the years, so that they could sleep at night and stuff. And I try to teach people that you're stronger than you think you are. You have the ability as God's children to be as God. I don't believe in a biblical God, but I believe in a creator of all things. And I believe we're all children of any God that works. They're still going to be the same God. So, I'm not talking about Baal or that. I'm talking about the creator of all things. I think we all can draw strength and power from the creator of all things. And I do believe that there are entities out there that can touch you and harm you. But I also think that, when people go ghost hunting and they claim they got the shit knocked out of them or something, I think that we'd find a way to package that and use them to fight our wars. You know what I mean? I think there'd be, if that was all true, we'd already have the scientists working on finding a way to use the dead people.
Spies. We would just send them in as spies. They'd just go collect all the information, bring it back.
There you go.
Problem solved. We'll end the war before it starts. We just shoot one person. But we are at the end of the hour. Very cool, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for going over there, checking that out. Marianne has been stalking your channel, and I know we're going to be trying some new foods.
Yes, we are.
And she'll be asking you to ship her some of those berries and stuff, too. Or we're coming out and picking some up in person, one or the other.
What I'm going to start doing is I'd like to ask, anybody has a Bigfoot, something that happened, or even if you have something happen to you in the forest or something spiritual even, send me an email and I'll read it while I'm cooking. I will make a special note that and read whatever it is you have. I'll read it on on air for you, and well, I'll make something nice.
Awesome.
So
Okay, and if we
I
could have
hope
somebody
you'll-
put the link in the chat so they know how to get over to him and get his email, send him.
Been putting it in throughout the whole show. So
Well, my goal is if I can get 500 subscribers, I want to do a live show, and I want to have music and everything. Literally, gonna have a live band and all that while I cook. I promise I'm gonna make it about an hour, and I'm gonna cook 3 full meals in an hour outside.
We're going to get you 500.
Ooh.
yeah,
We're going to get you to 500.
yeah, we want to see that.
I'm smelling the cooking already.
my
so
God.
that's how close I think you're already hitting that 500.
He's got some
Now,
good recipes, guys.
I want people, if you got an idea for some kind of food or something that you're afraid to try at home, I'll do it. Send me what you want to see me cook, and I'll do it.
All right.
She's not afraid to cook anything, but she'll probably still send you an idea or two.
I have
Except liver.
Yeah.
Except liver.
Yeah, no.
But you know, we actually have gone over the hour on our show, and thank you for everybody who's hung out with
Yes.
us and
This has
watched the
been-
show.
Very enlightening. I love it.
Jay, I would love it if you'd be willing to come back on the show sometime.
Absolutely.
In the near future. I have a feeling like there's a lot of topics and a lot of discussions we haven't even scratched the surface.
Dude,
of.
there's a lot of things about me that I just, the older I get, I'd like to get it out before I'm gone. I had a bad year last year. I was extremely ill, and I thought I was going to die. So there's a lot of things I'd like to let people know and tell, So.
Okay.
You got it.
We'll probably be hounding you, and when I say we, I mean her, because she handles all that. But we'd love to have you back on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you taking the time
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you,
We really
Jay.
do.
It's been such a pleasure.
We've learned a lot. We've learned a lot of what not to fully trust in.
Yeah. I'm not always so crotchety, guys. Honestly, I'm a good guy.
Hey,
The big world makes me so mad sometimes.
Real quick, Jay, do you have a email there on your channel?
Yeah.
Is it in the about section, right?
Yeah, it should be.
Yep.
If not, I'll have my wife double check it. She's my manager. She does all the editing and all that. And I
Yeah,
get chewed out
It's
for.
there. That's how I found you.
That's
So
a
yeah,
good-
click on the about section,
Oh.
and then it'll say,
Perfect.
for inquiries.
Wow, that's
That's
awesome.
a good partnership, isn't it, Jay? Having the wife who makes sure the details are there.
Sandra Pink is like my absolute. She's on every single one. She's usually right about the first person to have a comment. So yeah, there's my girl right there. Yep.
Yeah. Is she amazing?
She is everywhere.
Yep.
She's awesome.
But again, if anybody else out there wants to discuss anything pertaining to learning about Bigfoot or sharing information about Bigfoot or just sharing opinions, shoot us an email, TIPATVofficial@gmail.com. We will put you together. Make sure in the subject line you put "Learning Bigfoot" so we know what the email is pertaining to, and we'll go ahead and get you talk to you a little bit and get you scheduled. Thank you everybody in the chat for hanging out. Thank you for enjoying the show. Thank you for your questions and your feedback in there. We greatly appreciate that. And anybody who hasn't gone over to Jay's channel to subscribe yet, I expect to see you over there as soon as we go off there.
Yes.
So I want to see him hit that 500 because
Yeah.
I want to watch this live show.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you to our co-host, Rooted Expeditions.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So with that said and done, we wish you guys all have a great night. Stay safe, stay warm, and we will see you next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
That's it.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.